If you were 2-7, you'd be in a bad mood too.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. And he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
Get your mouth shut. Get your mouth shut, jerk.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
If worms had machine guns, then birds wouldn't be scared of them.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to a Word Home Media presentation of the Limp Dickus podcast. I'm Pete.
I am Ryan. We are just a couple of Chicago pricks united by our hatred of the Chicago Bears and University of Michigan football. I am an unfortunate fan of the Detroit Lions and Michigan State. Pete over there is a Notre Dame fan and Dallas Cowboys fan. We're also going to be making fun of the Chicago Bears and University of Michigan this week. There's lots to talk about, so let's go ahead and jump into the news. Week 1 of the NFL season is behind us, and the Detroit Lions are in first place. I'm not sure if you realize that, because
I do realize that
the entire NFC North lost this weekend, which is the perfect scenario for the Lions to remain in first place after a weird opening day against the San Francisco 49ers at Ford Field. Very not surprisingly, kind of a blowout for most of the game. The Lions did make a valiant fake comeback, or faux comeback is how some are referring to it.
Really? I mean, it was kind of unbelievable. I had Red Zone on, and it went to that game, and Charlie and I were watching it. And I'm like, holy shit, they may pull this off.
They were down at one point 38-10.
With 2 minutes to go.
Well, they were down 41-17 with 2 minutes to go.
That's right.
Scored 2 touchdowns in that 2 minutes and had a chance to score a third touchdown. They scored 2 touchdowns, got 2 2-point conversions. They got an onside kick. They got a fumble recovery. They had the ball in position to score again with 25 seconds left, and they turned the ball over on downs, unfortunately. So, I mean, it was miracle of all miracles they were even that close. So that's why I'm calling it and many are calling it a faux comeback. It really didn't have a chance to win, but it's kind of cool that they showed some heart, showed some fighting spirit, but whatever, they should. They're professionals. So
yeah, 16 points in like a minute and 10 seconds or something crazy like that.
Crazy. And they had the ball again. So San Francisco has some shit to work on.
That is for sure. You got to clean up the end of the game there, boys.
I guess some bright spots. The number one bright spot I talked about in the previous LDP, number 15 last week. Penei Sewell started at left tackle. He ended up being the youngest left tackle starting in the NFL since 1970. And he happened to be going against Nick Bosa most of the game, which is a tall fucking task. And he lived up to the challenge. He's I saw he was rated Pro Football, what's that called? Pro Football Focus. I forget what they're called. He was the top rated rookie tackle of the week. And that's, it's pretty impressive going against Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was even impressed with Penei Sewell's performance, as he had to comment about him in the post-game conference. Penei Sewell is only playing left tackle because former Ohio State grad Taylor Decker fucked up his hand. I believe he's out for a month, but you and I were wondering, what lineman takes himself out of the lineup because of a hand injury or finger injury is how it was being reported last Friday. I guess it's a hand injury. I'm not really sure. It just seems strange, but in a way it turned out being a blessing in disguise because it forced the Lions to move Penei Sewell back to his natural left tackle position instead of trying to shoehorn him into a right tackle position, which he was clearly struggling at in the preseason. And I think this is going to work out well because it's showing everyone that he is a potential world-class left tackle and he should not be moved around. Taylor Decker can find a way to make right tackle work and we'll be good to go going forward. So that was a bright spot for the Lions, at least. Jared Goff debuted with the Lions, looked fine. Nothing great, nothing terrible. Pretty much like what I expected. Did a lot of things that reminded, certainly not to the level of Matt Stafford, but similar things where they would be down most of the game and lead a furious comeback that would end up being futile. Seen that many times with Matt Stafford, although you've seen him win his fair share of comebacks as well. We'll get to Matt in a little bit as we get to our Bears segment, but so I wouldn't call Goff necessarily a positive, but I wouldn't call him a negative either. What I would call a negative is the Lions' number 3 pick overall last year, Jeff Okudah. He was at one point getting yelled at by his coaches, "Do your fucking job," over and over again. You could read lips rather clearly what was happening. Very disappointing rookie year last year. There was some hope that he could turn that around this year. Was not doing much to give credence to that hope, and then ended up rupturing his Achilles and is now out for the season. So any progress he may or may not have been making this year is out the window, which pushes that potential progress to next year. 1 year closer to him being out of his rookie contract and one more year closer to being out of Detroit. So it's just kind of a brutal scenario. You get a number 3 pick overall. There was some controversy with picking Okudah. I was not necessarily against it, since they certainly needed a cornerback at the time, and he was universally acclaimed as the best cornerback on the market in that draft. The strange thing is cornerbacks don't usually go as high as number 3, so if the Lions could have had other positions of need, it may have been a better choice, and it's looking to be, I'm hesitant to use the word bust, but we are definitely trending in that direction. I mean, it's only his second year. We're now going to move to his third year. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got a lot of fucking progress to make in year 3 next year, so we'll see. One other positive I forgot to bring up with the Lions is the running game. Actually, they look like they could run the ball.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, oh, where did this happen? But
yeah,
the offensive line, that can happen.
Well, that's I think the main thing. Swift and Williams combined for 4.8 yards a carry.
That is very good.
Yeah, that's getting it done against a good defense. So I think you're right. I think it's all chalked up to the performance of the offensive line, which is the whole strategy behind this new regime is to build that line. And Penei Sewell's already living up to it, and hopefully they can keep doing this. There's some positives. Again, being a Lions fan, I'm not picking, not expecting much out of the season. Just to see some progress with the new regime. The big thing on the horizon is Monday Night Football next week. For some reason, ESPN and ABC or whoever put it in their wisdom to put the Lions on Monday Night Football next week against the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh. Well, someone has to win in the NFC North next week.
Someone will be in low, well, maybe not sole possession, but yeah, it's going to be a shakeup in the standings of the NFC North. Right now, the Lions are a 10-point underdog, which is understandable. There is a ray of hope, though. I don't know if you saw how badly the Green Bay Packers were trounced by the New Orleans Saints. Basically, a completely uninterested Aaron Rodgers looked like he could give a shit about anything. It was kind of weird. They asked him if that was an embarrassing performance, or maybe Mike, whoever the coach is, said it was embarrassing. Aaron Rodgers well, he can call it embarrassing. He was like half asleep. He doesn't really care. So he's had a weird offseason where he almost retired. You're starting to question his, commitment to football. I think his real commitment question is to the Green Bay Packers, who have continuously screwed him over by not surrounding him with any weapons or things to help them win now. In fact, they drafted his replacement in quarterback. Love what's his name, but so that's the Lions' hope, is that maybe Aaron Rodgers is doing what he can to get forced out of Green Bay? Could he be, trying to force a trade or force him to be cut? I don't know. It's a weird scenario where he could look at Monday Night Football, the stage unto himself, against the Lions. An embarrassing loss at home to the Lions on Monday Night Football might force the Packers' hand, if that is indeed Aaron Rodgers' MO, if that's his plan to get the fuck out of there. Maybe he'll just throw it.
Yeah, I think an 0-2 start is gonna really really push that forward. And I agree with you 100%. I still think he does not like, I can't think of their head coach's name. I don't think he likes him. He never did.
No.
And it still seems like they tried to say last year that they were like on the same page now. I don't think they are. I think they just dislike each other.
Well, scoring 3 points against the Saints, and I mean, not to mention
not even, they're out of the dome, so they're at a disadvantage. I mean, that was a lot of the talk, how the Saints, because of the hurricane, kind of got screwed in a way by moving that game to Jacksonville because they weren't in the dome. Right. Granted, Jacksonville is an artificial surface, so they were still able to play their speed game, but
it's an artificial. I don't know if I've ever seen a game. I can't remember the last Jacksonville game I watched. I didn't realize it wasn't grass.
Yeah, so they were able to take care of business there. Obviously, they didn't have to change their game plan tremendously, but they just moved up and down at will on them, and Jameis Winston looked like a grade A starter for anyone who has him in fantasy. I'll tell you that.
He was on my bench in our fantasy league. Unfortunately, my 0-1. I changed my team name to the Surrender Cobras already, so a harbinger of things to come, I think. But that's all I've got for the Lions. I wonder if we should stick with this last weekend's action, and then we'll talk about the Bears, and then we'll jump into your Cowboys preview. You want to do that?
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to go first on the Bears? I mean,
I had a huge interest in this game because, first of all, we hate the Bears, but mainly because it's the debut of Matt Stafford in a Rams uniform and anything but the Honolulu blue as a professional, which has emotional ramifications. It has logical ramifications in that I am rooting wholeheartely against the Rams this year because the worse they are, the better their first round pick that they're giving to the Lions will be. So I kind of had mixed emotions. I don't know. I wasn't too emotional about it, but it was just kind of funny watching how pathetic the Bears were. And really, the Matt Stafford looked pretty much like Matt Stafford with pretty much what you would expect with some serious weapons around him and a solid defense. That's what you could see was the potential his whole time in Detroit. He just never had those things around him.
Right.
The annoying thing was to hear that same thing over and over again from a national broadcast crew about how the Lions were just a terrible defense his whole time there for a decade plus, and how he had no weapons, which is a little bit of a misnomer. And it's a little bit glossing over his crippling mistakes at the worst possible moment that he was characteristic of Matt Stafford at times. So you can place a lion's share of the blame on the Lions, but Matt Stafford had his own issues. None of those reared their ugly heads against the Bears, of course.
Certainly not.
The Bears have some issues.
The biggest issue for the Bears isn't even talking about the offense; it's the defense, because the Rams just rammed it right up their ass. And the biggest thing is it's poor game planning, and you gotta put Matt Nagy is just not a very good head coach. And to have played this team 2 years in a row, and basically the Rams came in with the same exact game plan. Just move everything away from Khalil Mack and we can beat the Bears. Mm-hmm. And if the Bears are that simplistic, meaning that defensively they're like a one-trick pony in that if you run your running plays to the opposite side of Mac and you don't ever move them around to screw up the offense that is doing this to you 2 years in a row, then like shame on you. And apparently they don't have a very good secondary because
they had some bad breakdowns and 2 long bombs from Stafford.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it kind of turned into a game for a minute at halftime because it was like 13-7 going into half, and then the Rams just completely destroyed them in the second half. And like looking at the Bears offense, was it great? No, but it didn't look terrible. The red rifle wasn't horrible, and his throws were on time, and his only interception was a tipped ball, which again goes back to our conversation from last week.
yeah,
So like the offense was okay, but who cares when your defense lets up 34 points? The Bears are not an offense that's going to put up 38 points. Or 35 points.
I did think it was interesting. They did put in Justin Fields for some novelty in the red zone. It was almost to placate all the fans who are clamoring for Fields to be the starter, but if they can sprinkle him in here and there, I think it's an interesting twist. It's kind of an odd strategy, but it felt like Nagy was bowing to the pressure of the fans almost just by giving them a taste.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they do want Fields to kind of, I might be giving them too much credit based on week 1's performance, but I think they do kind of want him to have that learn a little bit by watching on the sideline and sprinkling them in. I think that was, I don't
think it's a bad strategy. Yeah,
I think
it could work.
I agree with you. On the surface, it kind of looks like did they just like want to give the fans something? But I think they also realize like he's obviously the future, but there's no need to like, what are they really calling this season? Right. I don't know that they were. I think the fans have expectations. I don't think the Bears have expectations. And that's the question mark that needs to be answered. Of course, no franchise like we saw with the Cubs, Tom Ricketts and anyone would like Rick Hahn would do the same thing. Well, we're planning on being competitive again next year. You're going to say that. No one's going to say like we're going to sit out the next year. But I think the Bears were always still another year away from maybe becoming a better team again. But I think the expectation
going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was surprised by the defense. I was not, and it's not because of my hatred to the Bears. It's because I looked at their defense and what happened with their defense last year, and their defense wasn't that great last year. So they didn't make any significant improvements because they have so much money tied up with it, and the family's so cheap they're not going to spend. So that's the whole problem at the end of the day. Their ownership is not really good ownership to compete in this day and age.
Well, you're speaking to the choir here, singing to the choir here with as a Lions fan. The complaint has always been about the Ford family. Unfortunately, ownership will never change in Detroit or Chicago. Those are family heirlooms. They're rich people's toys are their sports franchises, and we can talk about it, but it's a moot point because they're never going to sell. So
yeah, Virginia McCaskey made the 90 plus. She was at the game in a box. I thought
a coffin.
Well, well, with sister Jean sitting right next to her, right?
God.
That's all we needed.
Wow.
So anyway,
well, that's probably more than enough Bears talk. If you want to get into your Cowboys, we talked about your Cowboys last week as they played Thursday night, but you got a big game coming up.
Kickoff special.
Yeah, you got a big game coming up in Los Angeles again, but against the Chargers.
Yeah, we get to play the Chargers again this year in Los Angeles.
By the way, I love the Chargers uniforms. I think they came out last year, kind of a retro, new, simple, clean look. I almost want to root for the Chargers just because they look fucking cool. But sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. You can root for the Chargers. I don't expect you ever to root for the Cowboys, so that's fine. Well, let's just go real quick on the Chargers. They won a close one. Somehow it was close against the Washington football team, possibly their permanent name.
I think it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to name it. I mean, maybe the Washington Football Guardians or something. I don't know, but that's
yikes.
Anyway, the Washington football team, 20-16, won a squeaker against them. So I'm quite optimistic about my Cowboys' chances this week of going in there. They obviously the Cowboys lost a close one, but
to the Super Bowl champion,
to the Super Bowl champ. So they played a little bit higher quality team than the Chargers. Right now, the Cowboys are -3. They're +3. They're 3-point underdogs, and they're +135
on the
money line, and the over under is 55. I'm telling you, if we're doing the first PV lock of the week, I'm all over this game on the Cowboys because I think the Cowboys will win the game by 10 points.
Are you taking the over as well?
I would take the over in that. I would take the Cowboys on the money line and or the spread because, I don't see them with the way they played against Tampa Bay losing to the Chargers this week.
Wow.
I think they win the game by 10. A lot of stuff we didn't get to because we were just coming fresh off the Tampa Bay game. But the thing is, a lot of people were freaking out. They only attempted 11 rushes against Tampa Bay. But that was partially, and you may see it again. I mean, they call the 2 plays in the huddle, and there's 8 guys parked in the box. Why are you going to force a running play when the passing play is there? Would I like to see a little more balance? Sure, but I don't see them consistently. If Dak's going to throw for over 400 yards, losing, they're not going to consistently lose football games. So, I could be wrong on that too, but so I think they have a nice rebound this week. I thought they played really, really well overall in week 1, and I think they definitely played. If they play the same way as week 1 with a couple tweaks on some broken secondary plays on the defense, then they get a somewhat easy win in San Diego this week.
All right. Well, do you have any other NFL thoughts?
Just overall, week 1 was kind of fun. I mean, I had the red zone on, and they were hopping around. It looked like Cleveland went 22-10 at half against KC, but
that's crazy.
That was just almost like a slow death for them. And I think what you saw with a lot of these games too is a lot of guys just didn't first string offenses did not play a lot together in the preseason. So I think it took a little bit for some of these guys to get going and clicking. And I think that was one of the things with KC. They just couldn't do anything right offensively in the first half, but damn, they sure did in the second half. And then just because it's fresh in my mind, last night's game was nuts on Monday Night Football. God. And it was and Gruden was right. It was the Raiders had 9 lives in that game. And
that was a vulgar display of football.
Lamar Jackson coughing up the football that late in the game. I mean, no more excuses for Lamar Jackson. I mean, this is his 3rd year in the league. You gotta know better. You gotta play with a little bit more caution in situations like that. So
he cost my football team the victory while I had Jameis Winston on the bench. Lamar Jackson is a former MVP, so I think he's got a little leeway. But that was bad. I don't know. It seemed like the offenses were really rusty in that game, but there were so many just bad play, a lot of turnovers. But like you said, that game was ridiculous at the end. The Raiders had it won 2 different times and fucked it up, and then the Ravens had it won at least once and fucked that up. So it was highly entertaining. It was not good football though. If you break it down, but
right. Exactly.
But I guess that's the NFL these days.
Yeah, so that's my final thoughts on the NFL.
All right. Well, I think with that, we'll take a break and come back with our recap of the college second week right here on the Word Hole Media Network.
Word Hole Media.
Major League A-Holes, the show, where baseball opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and most of them stink. Find us at MajorLeagueAholes.com and anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Word Hole Media.
Well, I think the biggest story of the college football weekend was Oregon going into the horseshoe and taking care of the Buckeyes. Now would be a top 10 matchup. I think Oregon was number 12 at the time. And I think
number 12.
Ohio State was in the top 5. No, that was a
They were
flip-flop.
3.
Okay. I've seen that Oregon's now number 4 and Ohio State's number 9, and at least in one poll I saw. So that works out nicely, as I did predict last week that Oregon would make it to the playoffs, be the first Pac-12 team to actually make it to the playoffs. So that's it's about as big a quality win that you could possibly have in the college football season on the road to a top 5 opponent, who I think Ohio State's still going to find a way into the playoffs, but they've got some work to do.
I don't think they will now.
Well,
I think they completely screwed the pooch because of the strength of schedule once the computer gets involved.
Well, the computer's not in. I mean, the computer's involved at some point, but there's humans making that decision, and the over and over again, that committee has proven that they love the Big Ten. And they specifically love Ohio State. So I think if Ohio State wins out, they get back in. I don't think it's going to be too tough. Especially if I'm not sure if they play Iowa, but Iowa's a top 10 team right now too. So if they have that on their resume, they'll be right back.
No, they only have to. The only other ranked team they play, I think, is Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be,
and who knows
dicey,
if Wisconsin will be ranked by the time they play them.
Well, I think they'll get back in. That's my prediction. But yeah, that was a shocking development. I can't say I felt bad for the Buckeyes whatsoever. I don't know. Did you expect that going into that game at all?
No, I didn't. I said last week, I thought they were just going to run the table.
Yeah,
they'd beat Oregon and they'd run the table after that because they have just Big Ten competition, and the Big Ten overall isn't, what it used to be. So I didn't foresee them with who they had to play in the Big Ten. It wasn't going to be that difficult. Now, I didn't notice Michigan did creep in at number 25. So I think that currently adds towards the end of the season a ranked team on their schedule. But the question is if Jim Harbaugh and the gang can hold that position within the top 25, as they could not last year. And
we might as well talk about Michigan since you brought them up. They did get what seemed like it would be a quality win against Washington, but Washington shit the bed the weekend before against Montana of all teams. So kind of took the shine off that matchup that everyone was looking forward to. And Michigan did their job. They pretty much steamrolled them on the ground. They only had 44 passing yards against Washington, though, and that's led to a lot of talk in Michigan about what's going on with their current savior, Cade McNamara. It's 44 yards is not what you're looking for out of your quarterback. But the other argument is they didn't need to throw the ball. They could run at will basically and piled up 33 points, I think it was. So, I mean, you could ask for more out of your quarterback, but why throw the ball if you can just run it down their throats? So,
right.
I'd love to trash Harbaugh and the Wolverines for that kind of performance, but I think there's some logic behind it. I guess, I mean, it'll be a while before they see another solid opponent before we could actually judge them. But I find it interesting, like you pointed out, that they've already found a way to creep into the top 25, as brand names like Michigan are wont to do, just by winning against nobodies apparently. So the only other Michigan tidbit I wanted to bring up is, I'm not sure if you saw this. I think it was either before the Sunday night game or the Monday night game, where Peyton Manning told a story about Jim Harbaugh. The famous year where Peyton Manning became a free agent, and he was eventually wooed by the Denver Broncos and became Super Bowl champion as the worst quarterback to ever quarterback a Super Bowl champ. But there was a long courtship process where every team, it wasn't, I'm not sure how much of this was public knowledge at the time, but all sorts of teams were going after Peyton Manning, of course, being the future Hall of Famer. And I guess he's a current Hall of Famer. Is he in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't know how that works. Maybe not yet, but he will be. But Peyton told the story when he was being wooed by the 49ers when Jim Harbaugh was the coach there, that they went to, it was Jim Harbaugh and another 49ers coach, maybe the offensive coordinator, picked him up at the airport, and they went to somebody's house. Doesn't really matter who, but and just to talk things through and get his feeling for what he wanted, where he wanted to go, what his thought process was, and when he was going to make his decision. And the wife of the coach or whoever they were at came in as they were kind of wrapping things up, and just as a folksy thing you say is, you guys want anything to eat before you take off or anything? And typically you just say, no, thank you, it's nice of you, but no, we're good. Of course, Jim Harbaugh, the awkward weirdo that he is, immediately perked up and said, yeah, I'll take a PB&J, please. He really wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of a stranger, and he got it apparently. So that's just another example of what a strange, awkward man he is. And apparently it cost the 49ers the chance to have Peyton Manning as their quarterback, because Peyton found that very odd as well.
Yeah, I did not hear that story. I didn't see pregame, so that's,
it was a weird
hilarious
one. Yeah. Well, that's all I've got for Michigan. You want to get into your Fighting Irish?
Oh yeah. Well, let's just say that things are not all that great in South Bend, despite being 2-0. They had another nail biter to where you saw them changing out quarterbacks in order to get the team to get some running game going with the team
against a MAC competition.
Yeah,
you were playing the Toledo Rockets of all teams.
I know. I did not see this coming, and
squeaked out a 3-point win.
Yeah,
is that what it was?
Yeah, they squeaked one out. Another ridiculous. I mean, I can forgive them for the Florida State game on the road.
Florida State losing to Jacksonville State or Jackson State, whatever they're called. I'm not sure what kind of competition you've been playing at all.
Well, no, I'm not gonna disagree with you. And I was happy that a 2-0 Notre Dame. Now they don't treat all teams the same way, but kind of like what they did with Ohio State, Notre Dame moved to 2-0 and fell four spots in the AP poll to 12 and 3 spots in the coaches poll to 10. So, and you know what?
That might be generous.
Amen. Yeah. That's exactly what you and I have been talking about, why the preseason polls kind of suck. And I feel like this year, early on, they are trying to level it out a little bit. Like dropping Ohio State 6 spots to 9 in the AP and 8 spots to 11 in the coaches poll is telling that they're saying, all right, maybe we were a little too high on these teams, or they're going to have to prove themselves to get back there and get quality wins against quality opponents. Now, again, Notre Dame has an opportunity to do that because they have 5 ranked teams they have to play down the stretch.
All in front of them, but so far,
yeah. But the defense, the biggest issue, I mean, the offense put up 33 points again. It was a little shaky in the first half, but played pretty decent in the second half. But the defense, again, just looked horrendous. I mean, outside of, it's like a one-man show out there. If you didn't have that All-American safety they have, who's projected to go like within the top 5 picks of the draft this year. I mean, I think he's got 4 interceptions already on the year. I mean,
Lions are already looking at him. I've heard that.
Outside of that, I mean, defensively they've been porous, and it's against again 2 teams. To your point, you said Florida State lost to Jacksonville, Jackson State, somebody.
The
Jaguars?
I don't know.
But like, yeah, so like there's nothing to be excited about right now in Notre Dame football.
Who do you have next week?
Don't.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So again, I don't know that Purdue's like that great of a matchup, but at least they're a Division I, reputable, more reputable than the MAC,
Hey, you're talking to a Central Michigan grad here, man.
I know what I'm saying.
Maction, catch it.
But yeah, I don't know. It's shaky times. I don't even know what to think about this week. I really don't. I'm at a loss.
Wow. Your confidence is shaken. I've never seen you like this.
Well, I mean, you just like I was so fucking annoyed during that game.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like,
you were on Peacock trying to watch that. How'd that work out?
That was fine. Easy. Just
right.
Boom, boom. Piece of cake.
I don't know. I didn't hear many people complain about it. I think they could find it, or people weren't
necessarily I also
for Toledo.
Something when we were talking about it last week, I forgot about. If you're a Comcast subscriber, Peacock is part of that interface.
That's what I was trying to tell you last week, but I didn't explain myself well, but yeah.
Like you can go to their app section and just click on Peacock. So, so anyone so that's why there probably were very little complaints. Especially since most of the people in the Midwest are all sucked into Comcast anyway. So
it's funny how monopolies work.
I know. Sometimes they work to your advantage, sometimes they don't. I do Purdue Notre Dame pick 'em right now.
Wow.
And I have no confidence that their defense can stop anything at this point in time.
That would definitely end your championship hopes.
Yeah. I'm gonna say right now, I was definitely a little overzealous last week. Overzealous? I just expected like them to come out and stomp all over Toledo, but because the defense had opened up that 16-point lead against Florida State, and they basically changed their defensive scheme to a prevent, and I thought that's what happened.
You could throw that out the window.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, that just made no sense. But apparently, there's bigger problems.
Yeah, there's some issues.
So hopefully they make some corrections. Hopefully I'm all jacked up and ridiculous again next week for you, making outrageous predictions of them being number 1 and by week 8 or something. But
yeah, you've got the undefeated record.
Right now, I'm sad.
Well, another team that it's hard to judge their record by is my Michigan State Spartans, as I am 10 miles down the road from in West Lansing here, away from East Lansing. They beat Youngstown State, the Penguins, quite handily. Again, they scored on their first play from scrimmage, 75-yard bomb. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, there's not much you can take out of a win over a Division 1A or Division 2, whatever they call them, opponent. One thing I was looking forward to is piling up of stats for my Heisman hopeful, Kenneth Walker III, who got off to a fantastic start in week 1 with 264 yards and 4 touchdowns against Northwestern. He didn't play a whole lot, which is probably really fucking smart on Mel Tucker's part. You don't need to overwork your star running back. He only had, I believe it was 8 carries, but he got 57 yards. No, he had averaged 8.1 yards per carry on 57 yards total and a touchdown. So that might hurt his Heisman chances a little bit, but we'll see. Nothing to complain about with the Spartans' performance, but nothing much to be gained by playing Youngstown State. The big test comes this next weekend as the Spartans fly to Miami to take on the Hurricanes, and that's going to be a real test. As I believe the Hurricanes are number 24 in the rankings. If somehow State were able to pull that upset off, they would definitely put themselves in the top 25 for the first time in quite some time. So no expectations to that level. There's not much to complain about with State so far, but again, a depleted Northwestern team. It was a solid win on the road that I really wasn't even expecting. It surprised me. Nothing to write home about last weekend. Maybe they'll surprise me this weekend. I think it's going to be exciting, at least that they've shown some signs that they can put some points up and play some defense. So we'll see. I think Miami overall has been highly overrated for the last 15 years, at least. They're kind of living off their brand name from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. So I think they probably are maybe equally trepidatious about Michigan State coming in. I don't know how, although you think of Miami fans as being the cockiest motherfuckers around. So maybe they think it's going to be no problem, but I guess we'll see. I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, they got some. I could see Michigan State pulling something off here.
I think with that, unless you have any other college thoughts from this past weekend, you got anything?
No, I know what's next, so I'm just excited.
Well, we're gonna wrap up the show with a request of yours, actually.
I have been waiting for this. We kind of, I think we brought it up like once last year, but now it's becoming reality, and I am excited.
The subject of Wayne Fonts came up last week, and it went a lot further than I thought, and now it's turned into a segment. I'm gonna call it this week's Wayne Fonts fact.
All right.
Wayne Fonts is of course the Lions' winningest and losingest coach in history with a 76-71 record. We had a question whether he was indeed still alive. He is.
All right, we've confirmed. All right, that's good.
He is 81 years young, still kicking it. But the fact of the week is he was arrested for drunk driving in 1987. But the kicker is he was also charged with possession of cocaine at the time. Fortunately,
my God,
the cocaine charge was dropped.
Well, I mean, of course, you dropped the cocaine charge.
Yeah, I mean, you got to drop that one. I mean,
you're in Detroit in '87.
He's Wayne Fonts.
You got cocaine.
I believe he was in Florida at the time, but I could be wrong.
Even probably Miami then.
Yeah, I believe so. So. He was convicted of the drunk driving charge, but not the possession of cocaine, fortunately. So good for you, Wayne, getting out of that one. So that is this week's Wayne Fonts fact.
Was his lawyer Tony La Russa?
I'll look that one up. Yeah, he La Russa was a former lawyer. So
there you go.
See? It's a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see if I can come up with any. I knew that one was a doozy. We'll see if we can come up with anything better than that next week.
Wow, and you think about it too, like how much society has changed. Just like real quick on this, like I bet when we heard that Wayne Fonts, like most people, when Wayne Fonts got a drunk driving charge with possession of cocaine in '87,
it wasn't a big deal.
Some people didn't even. Yeah, it was not a big deal.
Like, what are you gonna do? He's a football coach. He's above the law.
Yeah, to quote the great Jason Markison, sorry for partying. I mean, like that's what they do. He's in Miami.
Maybe that should be the new slogan for the Limp Ditkas. Sorry for partying. I think
like
I might work on that for a new T-shirt.
Well, I've got a T-shirt idea just sprung up. I think you just need the silhouette of Fonts and just in Detroit colors.
Well, there is now a T-shirt shop, sweatshirt shop, stickers, all available at limpditkas.com. I've been working on that this week. There's a wide selection of T-shirts, sweatshirts, and stickers, mainly Lions and Michigan State stuff. You need to help me out with some ideas for Notre Dame and the Cowboys there. So we'll get to work. I will get to work on that Fonts shirt. There's no Wayne Fonts design up yet, but that can be remedied. But so check those out at limpditkas.com. They'll be adding more shit to that all the time. Looking forward to that endeavor. But you can catch this podcast anywhere you like to find podcasts. You can find us on social media at Limpditkas. And we're going to have this podcast, the video format, on our YouTube channel. So you can check that out there as well.
All right.
So with that, I think we need to declare this dagger time. We out. Peace.
Peace.